Hey, welcome to another video from SkinnyMedic. So I have another after action report video for you guys. You guys seem to really like these. This video was dropped into my SkinnyMedic Facebook group. So if you're not a part of that group, go to Facebook and type in SkinnyMedic group and you'll find it in there. Lots of cool people in there talking about different things every single day. So Ben over the Off-Road Podcast dropped this one in there and said take a look at it. So it's definitely different outside the ones we normally take a look at. So I think that makes it really cool. This is a motocross accident, different than one I've shown before in the past, but it's kind of a grainy video, but at least gives us the subject to talk about and kind of think about off-roading injuries and things like that. Typically, you guys like to see the gunshot wounds, the stab wounds, things like that, and that's all penetrating trauma, but this is going to be probably blunt trauma, and which is a different kind of trauma. So spinal cord injury, fractures, all that's going to come into play here. So let's take a quick look at it. Not a lot of blood that you can see, so this is a pretty safe video to watch. Also, this video is going to be sponsored by Medical Gear Outfitters. Thank you guys for all the support over there at medicalgearoutfitters.com. When you guys buy kits and supplies over there, it directly supports this channel. So thank you, I appreciate it. medicalgearoutfitters.com. So, what do you guys think? Do you guys carry medical while you're riding motocross, while you're riding motorcycle, things like that? Probably something to think about. My first mindset was a couple of things I thought about. One is they're probably out in the middle of nowhere. So transport. Maybe we make a decision to hunker down with a patient. Maybe we make a decision to call for help. That opens up something else. I'm thinking about ham radio because maybe we don't have cell phone signal to call for help. Maybe we have to get on the ham radio, CB radio, whatever kind of radio system you're using. I think making a transport decision needs to be made pretty quickly, whether you're going to try to move him yourself to get him to help. Maybe that's the only thing possible, or you're going to just hunker down and wait. If you hunker down to wait, I think maybe building a shelter for the sun beating down on you for maybe hours at a time. Maybe you make a transport, you're going to have to make a rig, you have to move him. Lots of things to consider here. I talked about in the beginning of the video, there's a difference between blunt trauma and penetrating trauma. Penetrating trauma, we're not so much worried about spinal cord injuries. We can move them pretty easy. But with blunt trauma, we do have to at least consider spinal cord injuries. Now, the recent data shows that it's not as super important to keep someone still like we thought it was. Used to everyone got a backboard, they were pinned down. It was a great torture device, but we've really gotten away from backboarding people in general now. We kind of just put a collar on them, put them in a position of comfort, and we do it that way. But you still need to evaluate it. You need to think about, can they move their extremities? Do they have any numbness and tingling? All that's going to play into effect whether you want to move this guy or not move this guy. If you suspect he has a spinal cord injury, I definitely want to think about hunkering down, maybe building a shelter, protect us from the sun, and just kind of hanging out until rescue gets there. As far as the assessment here, we're going to think about that March algorithm like we do on every other trauma patient. We want to control massive bleeding, check his airway, check his respiratory rate, look for, do a secondary scan, maybe look for fractures, dislocations, and then we're going to treat for shock, cover him with a Mylar blanket, things like that. One of the things about airway that I wanted to bring up was about the helmet. I typically try to leave the helmet on unless I think there's some airway involvement, meaning that there's blood and I got to suction him, he's not breathing too well, and I need to pull the helmet off. There's videos on YouTube about how to pull helmets off. Basically, you sliding your hands up and then you pull the helmet off. But the other thing you think about here, if you leave the helmet on, he's got this big old noggin, nothing on his shoulders. Probably, I don't know if he's wearing shoulder pads or not, but you can definitely get airway occlusion by his head being pushed down. So think about maybe putting some padding under his shoulders to keep that level there so his shoulders come up equal to his head, and leave the helmet in place. So we'll do just a real quick recap here for you. We want to make a decision fairly quickly or not. We're going to move our patient closer to help or call 911 and just kind of hunker down and get the resources to come to us. And we're going to roll through the March algorithm just like we would have other trauma patients. So I hope this video helps. I hope it kind of gives you some ideas, things to prep when you're out playing outside. Thank you guys for watching. You never know when you'll be the first responder. Remember the right gear and the right training.